Okay, so I got the welder fired up on the generator. I'm going to start welding again here. Plug welding these. And in between I'll run the grinder to clean up the glue off the old surfaces. Maybe hit it with a little primer. But anyhow, welding, and then I'll be able to start, after the welding's done, and I'll be able to start doing the sheet metal on the outside. Alright, so my son Jeremiah is going to take glue off of the outside of the bus here, along the lips where the caulk's going to need to seal. So he'll be doing that with the angle grinder and an abrasive wheel. And I'm going to finish welding here. I'm going to get the front supports welded and then weld the plugs on the side. And then with luck today, I may even start putting up some metal. Up front, I decided that with the roof raised, the wind hitting the bus head on, I'd rather have some extra support. So I put in some angle iron pieces in the middle and on the side there to rivet to, so that we don't get excess vibration or indentation from wind on the sheet metal. So just a little step there to reinforce things. Alright, so I got the front welded up. Now I'm plug welding the other side. Just did the first hat channel of plug welding, and I'm also tacking the edges a little bit. We'll hit that with the grinder real quick before we put the sheet metal up. Hopefully you can hear me on the clip here. But yeah, plug welding this side of the bus. Alright, so I'm going to get back at the welding. So I ran out of welding wire and had to run to Tractor Supply to get some flux core wire. Got a new pair of welding gloves because the ones I had were pretty awful. Okay, so almost done with this side. Got a few more hat channels to do with the welding and plug welding. A little bit of a delay going to get the wire that I was not expecting to run out of. Okay, so it's Friday evening here. I've finished plug welding all of the hat channels on both sides. I'll touch things up with a little bit of a grinder tomorrow, and at that point I'll be ready to put up sheet metal. I'll be starting at the back corners and then going up the sides from the back. So I just need to get the corner pieces in place because of the way they overlap. That's it for this evening. Okay, so it's Saturday, and I was planning to put skins up today. I'm still going to do what I can, but Mother Nature has other ideas this weekend. It's raining. I don't know if I'll let that stop me or just stop working when it gets the heaviest, but I'm going to start in the corners by fabricating some inside pieces to fasten to with rivets from the outside. I'm going to use a box and pan brake. It's got to start with me taking a measurement. Probably empirically, I'm just going to use some paper or something to get the dimension correct. But anyway, I'm going to get at it in these back corners. And that right there, the swimming pool inside of the bus, is why I need to finish this project. I do have a little hole drilled, but apparently it's clogged. So I'll have to clear that. But yeah, raining inside the bus is not super good. So hopefully I can tough through the wet here and get panels at least dry fit today. We'll see. Right, so I'm going to use this piece of scrap metal because it's coated with a lot of zinc or something for the inside support. We're going to cut it right here, and I'll use this bend to help fasten it, and then I'm going to cut it right in here at the right measurement so that I can put it on the inside of the corner on one side of the back. So I'm going to get to cutting here. Figure about 30 inches or so. I measured it to that point. That's about the right height. And actually this will be helpful because it will go above the metal that's left from when we chopped the bus. So it'll work out pretty well. So what I'm going to cut it with is this Harbor Freight shear. I believe it'll cut up to 14 or 16 gauge. This is certainly much lighter than that. This is probably 20 or 22 gauge here. So We'll get the piece chopped at the right dimension and get her fastened. Alright, so I'm in the middle of cutting this piece. This electric shear is working pretty well on this light gauge stuff. I wouldn't want to use it on much heavier though. So anyway, got some curly cues of cut metal here. And I'm going to take this piece, I'll measure it, make sure it's under 30 inches. And then I'll take it to my pan brake. You know, or bring my pan brake in here actually and set it up on the floor to do a bend on this edge here so that I can fasten it to provide rigid support on the curve. Alright, so I have the brake set up here to bend this metal. I'm just going to step on the wood. It's actually wanting to lift the bar. I'm going to have to stop recording to get this done. That was actually operator error. I just had the bar in the wrong spot. I was not right over the bending point. So anyway, I've got one side of that bent. I'm going to flip it around and do the other. Okay, so I've got both sides of this bent. I'm hopeful I've got it at the right dimension and can just pop it into the corner of the bus over there on the inside. Alright, so I used the brake to put some little bends in this so that I can fit it in. We'll get it shaped. It's really there just to stiffen up the outer panel, so shape it as best we can. It's just there to back the other one. So about now I'm going to try to get it put in place. Alright, so this is an example, a prime example of things on a project with the Skoolie that are taking 2 or 3 times longer than you thought they were going to. I've got this clamped in place, but I can't get it all the way in. I've got it, it's hanging up there a little bit on the corner. I've got to use the hammer to convince it. So let's try that a little bit here. I'll probably need to put the camera down to get that done, but I'm going to get it slammed into place. Alright, so I've given up on making that corner piece perfect. What I'm going to do is start assembling, and the riveting will actually pull it all together. And then I'll strengthen the right side with some rivets afterward. I actually put some rivets on this side already. But what I'm doing is cutting the old ceiling pieces in half. And I'm using them because they're 20 gauge. 2 layers is the same as 14 gauge. So I'm filling the gap to some degree here with the sheet metal so that when I put the other sheet metal over it, not only will it stiffen it, but it will also keep it from bending in the middle. So what I'm going to do is tack weld the bottoms, and then I'll position that top piece where I want it. That's 16 inches there. I may use the same dimension from the top for the top rail so I have some symmetry. Okay, so you can see I've got the bottom tacked in here. I just roughed it up with the angle grinder to get some bare metal. You can put a tack at each hat channel to hold that sheet metal in place. Now I'm going to adjust the top piece to the right height and do the same thing. Okay, so continuing along, doing the next section with the middle support sheet metal. Okay, so I got the next section here put up. Let me back up a little bit for perspective. So we're about halfway down this side of the bus roughly. Alright, so I'm putting the first exterior piece of sheet metal up. First Clecco is going in place. To go around the corners, I'm using this lighter gauge ceiling panel metal. It's already painted, so why not use it? So I decided to come at this from the other side. I'm drilling holes for the Cleccos. I'm going to drill holes from the pillar in. I'll dry fit, get all the holes drilled, dry fit, and then I'll be putting caulk behind it and riveting it in place with the air riveter. Alright, so Mother Nature was really pissing with me today. I did get this corner put on. mostly. So anyhow, I'm tired of getting wet. It's about time to quit for the day. Alright, so today is a much nicer day. Might still get a little bit of rain, but it is very sunny right now, in the 70s. Spring appears to have sprung here. However, it's pretty windy today, so I don't know if I'm going to be able to get any full-size sheets up. Probably all I'm going to get done today is getting this done and maybe putting on this side some more of that support structure that I'm cutting from the ceiling pieces. So anyway, I'll get the interior piece popped into there. I think I'll make it a little bit smaller this time so it's not as much of a struggle. And then where we finished off last night was to get this piece wrapped around the corner. And I may dink with that a little bit more to get started, but before I move the ladder anyway. Alright, so got this panel here wrapped around, and then I bent it around the corner here, caulk behind it, riveted both ends, so it's pretty secure. Never mind the rough appearance here. Before any painting gets done on this bus, there's going to be a lot of prep work, wire brushing, sanding, etc. So all the caulk residue and stickers and stuff will be gone. But anyway, that's wrapped around. That's all going to be hidden behind the hatch, which probably will go to about here with its sheet metal, just as a flat piece of sheet metal. I'm not sure if I'll bend the edge over or not, but anyway, it'll be covered up to some degree. Actually, it might even be down to here, because that way the hatch can overlap to cover that portion. Okay, so this one's coming along faster. It's always easier when you know how to do the process and when you have help. Right, anonymous son? Alright, so at this point we got the back corners. I'm going to do another layer up there to cover that. It'll overlap the back corners and probably cup underneath the way that we bent the corners around in here. I'll bend the sheet metal right there. That hatch channel cap's going to get about 3 or 4 inches flattened on the outside, I believe. So the metal can be flattened up to the right area. I've got that side built the same way. So at this point we're going to put some more support metal in the middle, some filler metal on the other side. That way we can put the first 2 sheets on the back of the bus. Okay, so the fill-in support for the middle of the other side is set up for at least 2 panels here. We've got that corner built, so if you want to at this point, you can start putting in the big side panels. That's probably the next thing we'll do on the first nice and not windy day. Okay, I got about an hour or so tonight to work on the bus. Bradley there is going to drive the tractor around. We're going to load the first 10-foot sheet of metal, and we're going to dry fit it in place right in there. So we'll use some 1/4-inch bolts at the bottom temporarily, and then Clecos with 3/16. I don't have 1/4-inch Clecos or Clecos, whatever you want to call them, but we're going to dry fit it and get holes drilled. So that's the plan. Right there's good, son. You. That's good. That's good right there. Pause. All right, so we got that loaded on the forks, resting against the bucket. We're gonna rest it against the bus, raise it up into place using the platform to stand on. So that's the game plan. Go ahead, Brad. I'll tell you when. Just creep forward a little bit. You want to angle this way a little bit. This way a little bit. Okay. You're good. Come forward. You got about 2.5 feet to the bus. Creep forward. You're about a foot, 1.5 feet. Little more. About 10 inches. Okay. Come forward about 2 inches. Good. Stop right there. You can turn, raise it up a little bit. Tilt the bucket a little bit. Come up a little bit. Okay, about right there is good for right now. We can leave it running so we can raise it if we need to. So,
we can turn it back on. I just
yeah.
can't hear you.
All right. So you see where we're at here. We're going to put it in place. And then we could probably lift it up by hand, but why bother when we got the mechanical advantage of the tractor? I want to slide it in place. It's going to overlap that, and then it's going to rest right above the rail like that other sheet metal is. And we're going to slip it under that popped out roof part there. That's where it needs to be to dry fit it. But let me get the drill outfitted with the drill bit so we don't have to hold it still too long. All right, so got the panel resting against the bus. At this point, we're just going to raise the tractor up slowly and easily and hop on the platform at the right height, and then we'll be able to get this thing put in place. It's going to just have a 1/4 inch bolt to dry fit for now. I'm going to throw a couple holes through it initially, and then after that we'll be able to start working from those bolts outward, drilling holes and using Klecos where I have 3/16 holes. Some 1/4 holes, some 3/16 are being used here. So that's the plan. Okay, so we got the sheet metal in place with a couple of bolts. Just running through 1/4 inch bolts. Later we'll get riveted through those holes, but that'll hold it on along with the pressure from the top lip. Okay, so the first panel is in position. We basically drilled 4 holes for some 1/4 inch bolts just to keep it from falling off. My son had a pretty smart idea that once we've got it up there and we've drilled all the holes, we replace the 1/4 inch bolts on the bottom with longer ones like we used up top, and then we can just slide the panel out on the bolts to put caulk in and then slide it back in to do the riveting. So it's kind of a genius idea. So congratulations, Brad. Good idea.